Do you find yourself keeping a long list of things that frustrate you about your spouse only to blow up in some argument days or weeks down the road?
So after working with thousands of clients and couples all over the world, we have we have some ideas why this happens, and we want to share that with you. And believe it or not, this could be a very simple change that you can make to your day that could have a drastic impact on your marriage. So that's coming up. But before we get into this episode, we just wanted to share with you our gratitude for all of you.
We are so thankful for all of you. You guys, over the last 4 years since this podcast was started.
4 years.
Yeah, January of 2020. Before the pandemic even started, this podcast launched. And over the last 4.5 years, you guys have helped us reach 800 ratings on Apple Podcasts. And we just want to thank you for that.
Yeah, your ratings and your just your words of gratitude back to us really do drive us, and it helps other people find us, because when you leave a review, other people say, hey, this may be legit. Let's listen.
Exactly. You guys, seriously, your reviews, your word of mouth, spreading the word, that's our main marketing plan. So you help us out a ton, and you help so many couples around the world find resources for their marriage when you leave a review.
So 800. Thank you so much for those love letters.
Thank you. We thought we'd read a couple of them just because we're celebrating that today. So this one is from S. Williams 528. He said, DYMC is such a blessing to a marriage that seeks to fulfill a life modeled after a biblical perspective. Thankful for a diverse group of professionals and couples interviewed and sound advice offered time and time again.
Aww.
Thank you, S. Williams. We appreciate that.
You forgot the numbers.
Oh, S. Williams 528. DMM from NJ, maybe Jersey, said, this podcast is amazing. Thank you. We've been married 35 years and has helped us so much in our relationship the past year. We wish we had this long ago.
Oh, we love that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Your notes to us really do push on, keep us full of drive to really affect more marriages and help people just like you go farther. So thank you guys.
Yes. All right, let's jump into this episode today where we're talking about a simple change you can make to your routine as a couple that can really help you change your communication and better conflict resolution and not pile up all these frustrations that just blow up one day.
So, and here's what you have to know. It's things that you add to your life really do have to be simple. They can't be super complex. And we have so much complexity right now. Get the app for this or whatever. So the things that we do add, they need to be simple. And this is a very simple thing. We actually started using this tool probably 14 years ago.
Yeah.
So we've been married about 16 years. I think we're about 2 years into our marriage when we started using this tool. And I could definitely say over those years, our marriage has changed for the better. I would say partly due to this idea. So let's set a background though of why this tool matters, because if we just gave it to you, I think you'd be like, oh, this is way too simple. But let's lay the groundwork first for why this matters in a marriage.
So first of all, we tend to live really busy lives as people who are working in ministry, helping out at the church, parents, professionals. We live very busy lives, right? And so you're constantly just checking things off the list and going by the calendar and getting the house in order and being a taxi service for your family. So if you are not intentional about doing this thing that we're going to teach you, it can be really easy to not peer into your spouse's world and know what's really going on inside of them.
Right, because what we do when we come home from our work, we generally ask, how was your day?
Yep.
And you normally get a one-word answer, great. Or Well, maybe that's just a sound. That's not even a word. Yeah. So this is what we found our own lives emulating at some point. And a lot of our clients, they are not really communicating about their marriage, about their day, yes, or about how the kids fell apart at school or bit another kid. Like we talk about those things and like tend to put out fires and, worry about things all around us. And then we have this nagging idea that, our spouse, are they for us? Or we haven't really caught up. And maybe there's been broken trust in the past and we haven't connected. So what we've found is that couples are going a long time without connecting.
Yeah.
And why we know this is a problem is when you don't connect and when you don't touch base, what happens is you gain like what we call kind of a long receipt. So all of us have these things. I need to talk about this. This frustrated me. This irritated me. Oh, they need to change this. I wish they could work on that. So we end up really writing down in our mental catalog a long receipt of things. And when you have that, when an opportunity comes up and someone expresses a frustration about something you need to change, you're like, oh, okay. So we're going there. And so we pull out all of our frustrations to say, well, you're not stellar either. You need to work on all this. And what happens is we start comparing our receipts of like, well, you need to work on all this. So that kind of gets me off the hook for all the things I need to work on.
Yeah. Defensiveness at its finest.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you have all experienced that. So what we need to do is we need to back up and decide, how can I assertively voice some of these things that need to change without racking up this gigantic receipt that puts the other person on the defensive.
So how do we keep short receipts? Enter the daily check-in. And this is the tool that we want to share with you today. It's 3 questions to ask each other every day. And when we say every day, obviously we're not going to hit that mark. We just say, hey, try to get it more days than not.
Yeah, it's a really good way of stimulating a conversation and kind of putting guardrails on that conversation so we know that we're going in the correct direction.
Yes. So we do our daily check-in sometimes in the evening when we're brushing our teeth and getting ready for bed. Sometimes it's in the car. We've brought our children into the daily check-in now. So sometimes we'll do that at the table or at bedtime when we're tucking them in. And we call it roses and thorns with them. And that has to do with the first 2 questions in the daily check-in. So the first question is, what went well in our relationship today? So the importance of this question is that we're focusing on the positivity. We have this thing in our brain called the reticular activating system. And when we are looking for the good, because we know we're going to be answering this question later today, if we've created a rhythm of answering this question about the good, what went well in our relationship today, then our brain's going to focus on the good. It's kind of like when you want a specific car and you start seeing that car everywhere on the freeway. It's because your brain told your system, your reticular activating system, to look for it. And that's what we're doing with this first question.
Yeah, it's just helping people see it. And this is a really interesting fact. When you are in a negative state or you're triggered somehow, or maybe you're not feeling very attached to your partner, what happens is you start seeing even the neutral things as negative. Mm-hmm. So we know from science, or John Gottman's research, that people in a negative sentiment override see 50% less of the good things that are actually present in your marriage. Mm-hmm. So what happens is people could be going through their daily life and, things are not super bad, but they'll actually perceive them as more bad than they actually are. So what we want to do is, how do we then help see the good things that are actually happening? Maybe we need to work on making more good things happen, but just observing and being grateful and actually observing those things will actually move us down the path to, a better marriage and what you want to live.
Yes. Question number 2, what didn't go so well in our relationship today? The point of this is not just to make us focus on the bad, but it's to give us that opportunity to, what we said earlier, keep short receipts. Yeah. This is the really good fertile ground that you've cultivated to grow seeds of positivity when we're airing out the weeds. So this says, hey, let's actually talk about what we want to improve on, and we'll give you a format for how to answer that question.
Yes. And before we do that, you have to know that a lot of conflict that we get into can be actually predicted to be a successful conflict or a very negative conflict. Researchers actually found that within the first 3 minutes of an argument, they can predict a positive or negative outcome. So when we're starting this with the first question, that's positive. Mm-hmm. So it's actually predicting our successful path through talking about the good things and the not so good things, about like the good things and then what needs to change in our relationship.
Well, the way we're bringing up the things that need to change, it's brought up, it's called a soft startup. When you have that soft startup, then you're much more likely to have that successful outcome.
Right. So this is why this conversation is really helpful. So what went well in a relationship, what didn't go so well in our relationship today. And then how the person responds is, well, I wish that, so it's setting a positive intent. I wish that this thing would happen. And if that happened, I would feel, and then that positive feeling or less of the negative feeling, you would state that. And that really does help kind of give people helpful, like I said earlier, guardrails to help us talk about these hard things without blowing up or escalating into a big argument.
And the last question just creates team unity. And that is, how can I be helpful to you today or tonight or tomorrow, depending on when you're asking this? And it could be anything. It could just be like, I just want a hug. Or it could be, can you help me bust out this paper by midnight and read it over before it's due?
Thank God we're out of those days.
Yes, thank God. Or it could be like, can you help with this kiddo who needs this thing done? Or it could be, sometimes I'll ask Adam, can you put toothpaste on my toothbrush? It could be anything, but it's just to pull together you guys as a team.
Right. Like I'm willing and able and would like to help you in what you have going that could use my attention.
Yeah.
So this is a really quick way for you guys to get over that, the long receipt syndrome, and really lean into each other and see each other well and address each other's needs. And something that we haven't really addressed here, but it helps you be assertive so that you're not avoiding things.
Yes.
That's what our prayer for you guys is, that you address the big things or the little things as they happen so that they don't become bigger things and resentment builds.
So if you are in the DYMC community and our inner circles, then you've heard this tool before, and this is just an extra nudge. If you're not using it often or you forgot about it, use it. And if it's the first time you're hearing about it, then we challenge you to take on a new tool, practice it. It'll feel weird at first probably, but once your brain forms those new neural pathways of the way we communicate, you're going to see dividends in your relationship.
I love that you're calling out all the people that were in like date night or all the people that go to our seminars. Look, we teach very practical stuff.
Yes.
And all you people out there that have learned this, go back and do this because it will produce fruit.
All right, guys, we love you. We'll see you next week.